We've tried to set some things up in here to make it look like a prison. You've got your chain link fences and your razor ribbon around the top of it.
For 30 years, Jim Willett worked for the Texas prison system in Huntsville at the infamous Walls Unit.
There as the warden and oversaw 89 executions.
Today, he oversees the history of what goes on behind the prison walls.
This is our effort to show people what it's like to be in a typical Texas prison cell. Not much room for two people to live in.
Not exactly a Holiday Inn, is it?
Not at all.
A yellow stripe runs down the floor to show where an inmate can walk in prison.
You know, I think most people out there have no idea what it's really like inside a prison, especially what it even looks like. And we've tried to set that up and give people an idea of what it's like for an inmate to be in prison. JB, let me show you this piece of history. This wooden handle with a leather strap was used to inflict punishment on inmates. They could be whipped on their backs up to 20 times as long as it didn't draw blood. And they used that up until 1942. The most notable thing we have in here about capital punishment, and probably the thing that draws a lot of people to come visit us in the first place, is we have the Texas electric chair, old Sparky.
Used to execute 361 prisoners from 1924 to 1964.
I think it startles some people. It certainly quiets them down if they're talking. It'll get their attention really quickly.
Historical accounts show everything from the Texas prison rodeo to a hostage situation at the Walls Unit. The museum also has an item connected to the criminals, Bonnie and Clyde.
Clyde Barrow was an inmate at the old Eastham unit outside of town here. And when he got out, he went back and broke his gang out of prison, but in the process, one of the guards was killed.
This gun was found with Bonnie Parker the day she was shot by law enforcement. As shown in exhibits, a place that can be dangerous with weapons made by prisoners.
Somebody asked me here a while back, said, what would you do if somebody broke in here and stole that stuff? I said, as far as these shanks and stuff, in another week or two, we could come up with replacements, I'm sure.
These three weapons were used in an attempted escape, but they're not real guns. They're made out of wood.
You'll find that inmates can make things that you and I probably could never think to make, and they can make them out of all sorts of things.
Many items made by prisoners were just to pass the time.
That was made out of soap that the inmate ground up. The only tools he used to make that face, and it's really good as you can see, was a toothpick and dental floss. That rose next to it was made by a female inmate. It's made out of toilet paper. That tan and brown purse, that is made out of folded up Camel cigarette packs.
One inmate made his own game, Prisonopoly, and came to see it when he was released.
He thought it was pretty cool that what he had made there in prison was on display here.
Another made a chess set.
That is made out of soap and painted. And the interesting thing I find about it is the guys on this side here are all inmates, and the guys on the other side are officers.
Other items were made in the prison workshop to sell to the public.
We have all sorts of things made out of metal, leather, and wood by inmates.
A collection that will continue to grow.
Unfortunately, if you don't have the inmates, you don't have this museum. And unfortunately, I guess we'll always have this museum. We'll always have people going to prison.
For CBS 19, I'm J.B. Smith. And that's my story.